Gone through a lot of buggy equipment to get here.
A lot. And just, not really knowing what the hell I was doing to begin with.
If it fits, it must work, right?
Yeah.
You can plug it in.
Now we could just plug in and pretend we're professional. Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Game of the day. Oh, we're on, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah. Not to startle
Welcome
you.
to us. Glad we all could make it. What's fun is, as much as I've played this game, I don't actually know why they have you set the time.
Yeah, I think they were just lazy to actually read the current time on the system.
Or there's some hidden time that you can put in to trigger some event. I don't know.
It's not letting me change. Okay, well, it's going to be AM.
Yeah, because you'd have to loop all the way around and change to PM.
Hang on. Is there any audio at this point? Okay, I do see. Okay, touche. Do you want to make you a deal? Since you're so cooperative, next time you boot up the game and see this screen, just set the clock to your favorite time. Even it's not correct. You earned it. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Concept of the whole.
Of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and order. This is what
I relate to this game because I have the exact same job.
Every day.
Oh, do you?
Every month of every year.
Feels like it.
And although others might have considered soul-cutting, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Oh.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
I'm already feeling connected to this game. My grandfather's name was Stanley.
Doors, he entered the door on his left.
I did. Stanley did.
Well, it's up to you.
I don't trust this narrator. What? I'm gonna go to the right.
This
He has
was not
such a
the correct
cold
way
and
to the
heartless
meeting room,
voice.
and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Yeah.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Actually, yeah, because it reminds me of an old room I used to have. We had blue carpet.
What? Oh, I was gonna say with the step down pit and everything.
Really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah, no,
worth it
really,
being
really.
in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these but eager to get back to business. Stanley took the first open door on his left.
First open door on my left, okay.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
Oh, Lord.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Who?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Who is she?
Ooh.
What?
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
I'm getting scared now.
I'm not saying anything. I'm letting you get all the way through one ending before I jump in and start advising you.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
What the hell?
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife?
Yeah, I
Who would give
did.
their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
You want me to go in there with that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm scared. I'm really frightened now.
Well, man up. The mannequin does.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Oh, shit.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Thanks, man.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Bro, I'm really feeling scarred by this already. I'm not.
No, it's gonna get better.
As he
Better?
wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again,
Wait a
and
minute.
again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path.
What? What's wrong?
Mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Okay, first off, this is creepy as fuck. Two, wasn't that like a kitchen?
Can't
Just
be for certain.
that was a kitchen before.
Maybe.
But there is no answer.
Oh my god,
How could there possibly be?
it was a kitchen
In
before.
reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real one.
All right, you know what? We're not doing that. Circle, X, right, left. Fine, I'll go to sleep.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer. that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
I'm pushing that button. Should I listen to the narrator?
That's up to you, man.
Fine.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
I'm questioning. I'm questioning. You're not letting me question. You're rude. You're forcing me to do this.
I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules.
I pushed everything.
I
did.
I noticed.
The same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time you'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
I'm a little angry. That was.
So are you saying that you're angry because you did what you were told to do and you got no reward for it?
Yeah, well, I also went against his will, and then he forced me into a position where I had to answer the phone to only find out that I had a mannequin for a soulmate. So I'm a little disappointed.
And he basically trapped you in a break room that was slowly deteriorating to try and explain to you that you sitting there pushing those buttons is effectively Stanley.
What could it mean?
And the only way to really
Stanley
win was
decided
to
go the
turn the
meeting
game
room.
off.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat this guy.
Okay. I think it's fun that you got to the
When
I'm gonna
Stanley came
beat
to a
this
set
guy
of two
thing.
open doors,
You
he
now
entered
understand
the
the
door and
narrator kind of is the adversary. It's you versus a narrator. But what do you consider a
There wasn't
victory?
single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Room closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
They just close the door and stay in there.
Yeah, you know what?
Let you close it.
You can't jump. I earned a trophy at least.
Yeah, because you kept trying to
Coming the
jump.
staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
I don't think so. I'm going downstairs.
Uh-uh.
My car.
Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense.
Rapture.
As Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream.
This is all a dream.
What a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself floating and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field.
Resist it! Don't die!
It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream.
Your anxiety is like all over your
Stanley
face.
simply deceived
Yeah.
himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself. Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over.
Me too.
Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, that's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Jesus God.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Oh,